No mai haere mai. Hey, welcome to the fourth series of the Pattern Reader. How this mahi began was directly from the community. I was a stay-home mama and I turned to the ancient Maori arts and crafts of my ancestors in Maori cloak making. The practice of patterns is now leading to and developing to a new work of reading the patterns of our history, for there lies the truth of our patterns of history, to bring an interpretation under the gift of interpretation for your viewing. And this is all founded upon my whakapapa to the lines of the Arawa people and on the whenua of Te Arawa waka, through both parents' lines and out to other tribal affiliated areas. We're going to continue reading the pattern of Te Reti of Waitangi. The Queen Victoria's Treaty of Waitangi led to Queen Elizabeth's Crown courthouses. Here we are quickly, we're having a look at the coat of arms symbol introduced 1953 to present. It was introduced. We're going to flick through and look at the different symbols outside the courthouse. These symbols, signs and symbols stand. Here we go. We're going to talk a little bit now about 1953 to present, how it was introduced the same year that Queen Elizabeth was crowned. So Queen Victoria's Treaty of Waitangi led to Queen Elizabeth's coat of arms symbol. It's a sign, it's a symbol, it's an instruction of the courts of this country. We're going to go straight to the shield. On our shield we can see the first quadrant here, which is the 4 stars, representing the flag of New Zealand, but also representing the Bank of New Zealand. The 4 stars of the Bank of New Zealand, people. Next quadrant, second quadrant, is the sheaf of wheat, representing the agricultural industry. The third quadrant is the lamb fleece for the farming industry, and the fourth quadrant, of course, is cross hammers for mining the country, the instruction for the country to be mined. And this is all under Queen Elizabeth's reign, people. Is that corrupt or what? The centre, we'll talk about the 3 ships in the centre. Close the gates of immigration. These are the 3 ships on the coat of arms symbol. So she has instructed, and this instruction from the British Empire for our country, for immigration, to bring in all these foreigners into. No mai haere mai. Hey, welcome to this 4th series of the Pattern Reader. We're going to continue on now. We're going to talk about the work of the reigning queens of England asserted over our country, Aotearoa, New Zealand. The first queen, Queen Victoria, and her Treaty of Waitangi, Te Reti of Waitangi. That was her work. And the next work of the next queen, the current reigning queen, 1953 was the year she was crowned, Queen Elizabeth. The work of Elizabeth, 1953 to present now, and how the coat of arms symbol, where Elizabeth's crown sits on top of, the coat of arms symbol, which stands outside the courthouses, people. I'm going to talk to you about those 3 courthouses of Elizabeth, the works of her hands here, her reign here. The first courthouse is your common courthouses that we see in the community established, and an arm off that common courthouse was, of course, the Maori Land Court. But they're all the same, people. British courthouses established. The second courthouse, the City Council chamber courthouses. And the third courthouse, of course, is Wellington's Beehive. Politicians in charge. The Parliament courthouse of Aotearoa, New Zealand. And it's how right. Kia ora again. Once again, here we have the coat of arms, Elizabeth's Crown courthouses. This is the coat of arms symbol right here, and here's her crown. 1953 to present, the symbol was introduced. On either side, it's guarded, people, by a European woman and a male warrior who are to guard the system of Elizabeth, her work. And here we have a shield. On that shield, the stars, first quadrant, the stars, representing the stars they set on the flag of New Zealand, but it also represents the banks, people, the Bank of New Zealand. Second sheaf of wheat, a sheaf of wheat is the second quadrant, representing the agricultural industry. Then the third quadrant is the lamb fleece for the farming industry. The fourth quadrant is cross hammers, here for the mining of New Zealand, all under the order. It's an instruction, it's an order of the courthouses. It stands outside the courts. Here we have in the centre here our three Endeavour journeys, the Endeavour journeys representing immigration, the bringing in of all these people, all these foreigners to become New Zealanders, and also exportations, people exporting all the food, offshore investments and all that, New Zealand being used as a foreign investment. So here we are, we're having a quick look again at the symbol that stands outside the courthouses, and I want to talk to you about the Maori warrior representing our people, guarding this whole system set up from England under Elizabeth's reign, working for Queen Elizabeth against us who do not fit in, we don't fit in. And here he is, a Maori warrior. He's a male, a man. He's holding a taiaha representing the rights to speak, so he has all the rights to speak on behalf of our people, but he's guarding this whole shield. He's guarding this whole system. Opposite him, of course, is the European woman. And how they got our men. I want to talk to you about education system and how they got our men over the last 100 years. And our grandfather told us about it, how when he was caned, they were caned in the time they were schooled, caned, and they were told not to speak the Māori language. They were not only told that, but they were also told through the schools, through teachers, principals. It was horrible, people. The treatment of the children through a system that would cane them and tell them not to speak their language, and not even to say that they identified that they were of Māori descent. So this is the arrogance, the racism and the treatment of the children, how they split and divided the family base. Children were to be schooled while the parents were to work. So we're going to carry. So they were caned, and there was a time that was out. So we're talking about the three generations: our grandfathers, alright, our fathers, and now our generation, and how it was my generation where they stopped strapping. So they went from caning of our grandfathers' generation to the next generation where they had to stop caning because it's insane, inhumane, the treatment of the children. So they got them next was through strapping. So they used their belt from around their waist, they took that, and they stopped strapping in the 80s, people. They had to stop strapping altogether. So now they're using other military tactics against our children, the millennium age children who do not fit into colonial age schooling, still asserted here in New Zealand from Britain in the year 2000. So something's got to change, people. Someone's got to challenge it for a full change now. For a full change. It's contributing to the youth suicide rate. We want to see an end of the state schooling system in Aotearoa, New Zealand, asserted from Britain. So no mai hara mai hey, welcome to the fourth series now of the Pattern Reader by RangiMarie. We're going to talk further about the first Māori judge sworn under the scales of justice to judge Te Riti o Waitangi, which led to the coat of arms symbol, which stands outside the courts, and has led to the establishing of the courts in New Zealand and the assertion of their authorities. This Māori judge will lead to further judges being appointed under that scales of justice, further Māori judges sworn under the scales of justice to lead and judge the racial oppression of the Indigenous races. And we're talking about a worldwide movement of change that this will bring in to address the British Empire and its systems asserted over us constantly from generation to generation, racially oppressing us, founded upon racism, upon arrogance, upon greed for land gain, greed for gain, to use and abuse the lands of the Indigenous peoples. ahead in our next series, we're going to continue with reading and interpreting Te Reti o Waitangi. We're coming to the place I want to and still have to read and interpret the Maori version of Te Reti o Waitangi, so we can understand how our own people had decided, why they had decided to make that agreement and sign, those tribes that did. Except for Te Arawa never signed Te Reti o Waitangi. I also want to talk to you ahead to is how we raised our leadership up. Rights to speak, it was through the 3 categories. You had to, through the works of the hands, our hands, we developed our leadership. The works of the tohunga, whakairo, the carvers, the works of the carvers, the tohunga rāranga, the weavers, and the tohunga korowai, the cloak makers. It was how we raised our leadership rights to speak. And what we're currently seeing is all these paper university students who have got all the speaking rights at the moment on behalf of Māoridom, the doctors, the lawyers, the judges, the teachers, all these intellectually minded people speaking on our behalf who have not worked through their hands in tohunga whakairo, tohunga rāranga or tohunga korowai to speak on behalf of our people, on behalf of iwi, on behalf of the tribes of Māoridom. Thank you.